we haven't met before, my name is Giordano and I'm an embroiderer. I mostly do personal work, but I also do a fair amount of publishing commissions. I'm just about to start a new book design this morning, so I thought I'd try and bring you along some of the process just so you can get an idea of how I do things, why I make the decisions I do, and whatnot. I apologise in advance if I'm talking quite quietly, but it's 6:30 in the morning here, and I'm trying not to wake my neighbours up by talking loudly to myself. I don't think I'm doing a very good job. So before starting, I thought I'd quickly run through the design I'm going to be using. This is the image that the designer originally sent me, so the text and the central image was always in the same place. I was also given some examples of Regency era embroidery just so I could get a feel for the sort of thing they had in mind. The publisher wanted the design to be symmetrical, so when I was coming up with ideas, I designed a quarter of each one that would then be flipped digitally, just because I work freehand, so the chances of me being able to actually get a design to completely measure up is pretty much impossible. And I also did some colour mock-ups of these just so we could start to get an idea of what sort of thing we were looking at. In the end, the designer preferred the first option, which is this one, but she wanted the design to be a bit more fluid and to interact with the other elements a little bit more. So I switched to only mirroring one half of the plants, and this way they fit around the various elements in the text in a much more customised sort of way. And we also finalised the colours at this point as well. So the last change we made was to just knock back the plants around the central image a little bit. So you can see I've left them on that side. And it's just because they were taking focus away from the text and that image a little bit too much. And finally I went over the design in ink. This is just so I can project the image onto the fabric from behind, a little bit like you would with a light box. I wasn't happy with how I inked the author's name, so I cut it out and redid it on another piece of paper. Because it's been projected, I couldn't just cover it up. Normally I transfer an image to fabric just by freehanding it with a fabric pen and then double checking the measurements as I go. But because each branch of the plants has to line up with the text and other elements when it's flipped, I just thought that wouldn't be accurate enough. And I also think it's going to be much faster this way as well. I think it worked. If it has, that's saved me an embarrassing amount of time, because I'd normally sit here measuring out every single letter one by one. So hopefully it's going to save me a bit of time in the future as well. So I just thought I'd show you where I've got so far. I do tend to sometimes move around the block of text, it normally means that I've not really been that happy of how I've drawn one of the letters out, so I'll just leave it, move on to something else, and then go back when the pen's faded. This is actually a brand new pen. I bought it yesterday just for this project, and it's actually fading quite quickly, which is sometimes annoying, but in this case actually quite helpful, because it means every time I start a new letter I can just go back, double check the reference, make sure everything's actually in the right place. It's been so much easier having projected the text, and I'm just thinking about all the years I've spent not doing that, even though I saw other embroiderers doing it, and was really questioning my life choices right now. But that's great. It's been a much easier process, and I think I could probably get this all finished today. I've also got the author's name to put down here, which is much smaller, so again, it shouldn't take that long. How? How did I do this? Full disclosure, I've been looking at these two golds for about 15 minutes now, trying to decide which one to use. I think this one's closer to the mock-up colour. It's going to be this little bit down here. But it's just got a slight kind of yellowy hue to it that I'm not completely sold on. But this one, although it's a nicer gold, I think it's too pale. So I think I'm just gonna go over this one. It'll probably look different once it's actually stitched in and it's got this darker colour around it as well, so hopefully that's the right one. So I'm just about to start the last corner, which is the little dog that goes here. I'm probably going to actually stitch it off to the side if I find these. So that's the size it's going to be on the finished cover. I'm pretty sure if I tried to stitch it this small, it wouldn't have enough detail, and I think it would probably come out looking quite cartoony. So maybe I'm thinking this size. And then if it's off to the side, the designer afterwards can just resize it and pop it in. I think I'm probably going to end up starting this a few times. I'm really not sure how it's going to go, if I've picked the right colours. I really haven't stitched that many dogs. Didn't feel myself starting this one just because I knew I'd probably manage to mess it up if I did it on camera. It's also quite hard to see from an angle, but I'm pretty happy with how it's going so far. This stage was the bit I was most worried about, as it's hard to simplify something like this without it looking cartoonish. I think I'm going to finish it in the tones I've already got on, and then go back in at the end of the highlight and just really pick out little bits like the teeth in the nose and the highlight on the ear, just to bring the whole thing a bit forward a bit. Okay, dog is all finished. I hope you can see him. This is actually the part I was most worried about with this cover, but I really like how it's turned out. Absolutely adorable. So I'm about to start on the plants now, which I'm also really looking forward to. I think they'll bring the whole design together. Plants are started, which I'm really happy about. I love sewing plants. I'm not sure if that's obvious in my personal work or not. I realised I haven't got as much footage of the trees especially, and even the foliage as I wanted, but it turns out I can't actually really see the colour green very well unless I'm about 2 inches away from the fabric, which is news to me. So it was really hard to get a decent shot. I'm just going to go back in with a darker colour here, just tidy up the edges of the house I think, and I've got to add a front step in as well. And then it's just the figure to go, which I want to leave till last, although it's probably not a good idea, it'll be harder to fit it in, but the stitches will look nicer, it'll be going over the top rather than getting pulled at by anything else. When we get a load, there we go, of this thread situation. I'm ashamed of myself, but I'm really worried that I'll see just one tiny little gap that needs a single stitch, and I've already tied the colour off, so I'm just keeping everything all threaded all the time. And that's the embroidery finished. It's been approved by the client, so I don't have to make any changes. So next I'm just going to tie off all these threads, and I'm taking it out of this frame and putting it into a single rolling frame. I think when I do that I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, and this is just because the client wants to photograph the back of the embroidery as well as the front to put on the dust jacket. And leaving it as it is now, there would be quite a lot of shadows cast along the top and bottom. If I move it sideways, I think there's going to be enough space that nothing gets a shadow cast on it, or at least that's what I'm hoping. I haven't tried this before. And I'll leave the outline in until then, just because it's easier to line everything up, and then I can go in and just unpick all of this. And then I'm sending it to the publisher to be photographed, just because I can't really get a high enough quality photo myself, and that's the last I'll see of this until it gets published.